Hello everyone, welcome to Cherry Clips. Today I will be sharing a movie named Be With You. Between heaven and earth there is the kingdom of the clouds, where the spirits dwell before they are sent to heaven. A mother penguin came here not long ago. Every day she looked down to the baby penguin on earth and worried to tears. A year later, when the rainy season comes, Mother Penguin sneaks on the train to the world, reunites with her beloved family, and spends a great time together. But before the end of the rainy season, Mother Penguin must go back to the kingdom of the clouds. Otherwise, if she misses the last train, she will be sent to heaven and lose the chance to watch a baby penguin from above. Although she is very sad, she says goodbye to baby penguin with a smile. From then on, she still looks down to baby penguin every day, but this time with a smile. Henry's mother, Jane, told him this fairy tale when he was little. Jane died recently. Henry's father, Kevin, is devastated at Jane's death. She didn't recover well from giving birth to Henry. This is considered the main reason why she passed away at 32. Henry doesn't cry during the funeral. He believes his mom will come back just like the mother penguin in the fairy tale. Kevin takes care of Henry by himself, while maintaining the business at the swimming pool. Henry always hides in Mom's closet when he wakes up, because he misses his mom's smell. Kevin rushes back home early in the morning after work and makes breakfast for Henry. They do not know how to take care of themselves, therefore turning the house into a mess. Henry pays close attention to the weather report. When he knows that the rainy season is coming this weekend, he tells Kevin that Mom will keep her promise and come back soon. Kevin doesn't want to disappoint him, so he plays along with him. After breakfast, Kevin takes Henry to school. He always kisses Jane's picture before going out. Kevin is handsome and popular with women, but Jane is the only one in his heart. Henry usually hangs out with Uncle Jeff after school until his dad's off from work. He tells Jeff that his class will hold a relay race, but Kevin can't attend because of physical reasons. Jeff cheers him up and agrees to team up with him that day. Unfortunately, Jeff is banned from the race because he's not a family member. Right then, Kevin comes despite his physical problems. He runs fast, but faints on the ground. Kevin feels sorry, but Henry is more concerned about his health. Finally, the rainy season comes. Henry is very excited and drags Kevin to the train station to pick up his mom, Jane. Kevin just follows around. Surprisingly, they do come across Jane in a tunnel on their way back home. Kevin can't believe himself at all. Jane is confused and doesn't recognize the two strangers. At Henry's insistence, they bring Jane home. Henry can't help presenting their photos to Jane. He believes his mom's amnesia is caused by a head injury on her way back from the kingdom of the cloud. Kevin doesn't want to startle Jane, so he convinces Henry not to mention the kingdom of cloud. They agree to keep a secret that Jane's home, meanwhile helping her to restore her memory. So they tell Jane they are a family, and she loses her memory because of illness. The next morning, Jane dresses Henry up. Henry kisses her on his way out. Kevin intends to kiss her as well, but feels inappropriate, so he kisses the picture like usual. After Kevin drops Henry at school, Henry skips class and goes back home to play with Jane. Jane is eager to win. She beats Henry every time. After dinner, Henry asks Jane to make tteokbokki, but she can't cook well and even spills the hot tteokbokki out of the hot pot. To protect Jane, Kevin burns his back. Jane rubs medicine for him before going to bed and asks how they fell in love. Here comes the story. They were classmates in high school. Jane's academic record was the best, while Kevin's a swimming talent. They didn't have any connections before, until in a swimming class where Jane almost drowned if Kevin hadn't saved her in time. Kevin noticed Jane from then on and gradually fell in love with her. With his best friend Jeff's advice, he tried to approach her by all means, but without any success. In a dancing class, both of Kevin and Jane were left-handed, so they became partners. Facing Jane so closely, Kevin was so nervous that he stepped on her shoes. Since then, they never spoke to each other again. Until graduation day, Jane invited Kevin to leave a memo in her yearbook. Kevin was flattered. He forgot to take his pen out of the book, and Jane took it away without realizing it. After that, Kevin was recommended for admission to the local university as a swimming talent, and Jane studied at Seoul National University. Kevin joined the army right after college, so he never had the chance to call Jane until 2.5 years later. He flinched the moment Jane picks up her phone. But under the pressure of Jeff, he finally asked Jane out to give his pen back. Kevin jumped out of joy, dressed up according to his understanding of fashion with the help of his friend. They met outside the school entrance, and Jane handed over the pen. Kevin collected enough courage to invite Jane for a date before she left. Kevin showed Jane a geographical album of Norway and expressed his interest of Norway, because he remembered Jane used to read Norwegian Wood in high school, so he assumed she liked Norway. Jane explained that Norwegian Wood is a novel. It's not about Norway. That was awkward, but soon they changed the topic to pets and had a good time. After dinner, they parted with reluctance. When Kevin learned that Jane will go back to Seoul on the next day, and she wouldn't come back until winter holiday, Kevin ran after the bus and asked her permission to continue writing emails during this period. Kevin is energetic and full of joy ever since Jane's back. So is Henry. Jane finds a locked cabin one day. She finds that it's full of memories of their family. She is so content with their happy life. Jeff arranges a blind date for Kevin out of concern. Kevin turns down the request and walks away without hesitation. Surprisingly, his date is satisfied with Kevin. Jeff dresses like a penguin that night and goes to Kevin's house, but frightened to death when he runs into Jane. He's afraid that Jane's spirit comes after him because he set up the date for Kevin. After Jeff flees the scene, Kevin continues to tell Jane about their story. Kevin and Jane were watching a movie together one day. He tried to hold her hand, but instead, he held the feet of the man who was sitting behind them. After the movie, Jane put her hand in his pocket. As Jane hears this story, she puts her hand in Kevin's pocket. This small movement makes Kevin feel the same happiness again. The next day, Kevin invites Jane to watch a movie on the top of the mountain. He can't help kissing her when they are fighting for the telescope. It rains heavily out of surprise. Kevin protects Jane regardless of himself. Jane begins to wear their wedding ring and acts more and more like a mom. She wishes the happy life like this never ends. But one day, while Kevin carries Jane and Henry, he faints again out of exhaustion. Jane worries a lot when he wakes up and requests him to tell her more about his health and what happens next. On their third date, Jane sent Kevin a 4-leaf clover and wished him success in passing the national team trial. Kevin trained hard, but for the first time, he fainted in the swimming pool and was then diagnosed with a brain disease. Although he actively treated himself, it's not getting any better. As long as he is nervous or exhausted, he will faint. In order not to drag down Jane, he decided to end their relationship. Jane was not given any reason and left her heartbroken. 1 year later, Kevin missed Jane so much he decided to meet her one more time. He misunderstood that Jane had moved on, but not long after this, Kevin got Jane's phone call. Jane ran into Kevin's arms when they met again. She told Kevin not to worry about anything. It'll be just fine, and just follow their destiny. Despite her parents' objection, Jane withdrew from school and married Kevin immediately. Their love is so moving, Jane wants to live happily ever after with Kevin. But the rainy season comes to an end, which worries Kevin and Henry a lot. Jane finds her own diary when organizing the room. She reads through the whole diary all day long and figures out what happens. When Kevin comes back home at night, Jane is teaching Henry how to fry eggs. Then she also teaches Henry how to hang clothes, how to use the vacuum cleaner, and so on. Jane watches the video of Henry's childhood, crying silently. Kevin hides in the corner. He realizes Jane knows that she will disappear. He tries to block the tunnel so Jane can't leave. Henry also tries to keep his mom here in his own way. One of his classmates says every time they wash their car, it rains. So Henry washes their car every day after school to extend the rainy season. He scratches the car by accident and cries about it, which makes Kevin even more sad. Jane knows she doesn't have much time, so she finds Jeff and asks him to do her a favor. After that, Jane buys Henry a birthday cake and celebrates with them despite of sorrowness. They laugh, they dance, they take pictures together. Jane kisses Kevin at night, understanding it's about time for her to leave. Jane comes to school early that day to watch Henry's performance, but Kevin couldn't make it on time because he saved a coworker who drowned. Other kids are talking about their great dreams. Henry looks at his mom and states his simple wishes.
나는 달리기를 잘한다. 나는 청소를 잘한다. 청소기는 너무 세게 틀면 안 된다. 먼지가 더 안 들어온다. 나는 빨래도 잘한다. 빨래는 팡팡 털어서 널어야 한다. 나는 머리 감는 것도 잘한다. 머리를 감을 때는 절대 손톱으로 하면 안 된다. 나는 요리도 잘한다. 계란 후라이는 약한 불에 계란을 탁 쳐서 살짝 벌려야 된다. 꽉 찌면 박살 난다. 나는 우리 아빠를 꼭 지켜줄 거다. 엄마랑 그렇게 약속했다.
Jane bursts into tears listening to this. The day comes, the sun shines, the rainy season ends. Jane comes to the tunnel alone. She knows Kevin doesn't want her to leave, so he blocked the tunnel. She steps over the branches to the inside of the tunnel. Then Henry catches her. He apologizes to his mom. It's his fault that she gave birth to him and became weak.
미안해.
지호가 왜?
엄마 나 때문이지. 나 때문에 죽어야지.
그게 무슨 소리야? 누가 그런 소리를 해?
친척들이 얘기하는 거 들었어. 엄마 나 때문에 아파졌다고. 미안해. 알았으면 더 말 잘 들었을 텐데.
말도 안 돼. 지호가 있어서 엄마가 얼마나 행복했는데. 지호야, 절대 그렇지 않아. 엄마는 지호를 낳지 않았어도 분명히 똑같이 됐을 거야. 그리고 우리 지호가 없는 세상에서는 100년을 살아도 하나도 안 행복했을 거야.
At the same time, Kevin runs to the tunnel but faints on the ground many times. But the love from Jane supports him to go on. He finally catches up with Jane before she leaves. They look into each other's eyes, smile, and say goodbye in tears. Then Jane disappears in a ray of sunshine. Kevin and Henry live more positively as Jane wishes. One day, Kevin finds Jane's note, so he learns about the other side of their love story from her diary. In fact, Jane fell in love with Kevin at first sight. In order to team up with him, she pretended to be left-handed. After graduation, Jane meant to ask Kevin out with the excuse of returning the pen, but she was too cowardly to call Kevin. She was so excited that Kevin called her first. Their relationship went well after that. But she didn't expect Kevin to end the relationship after only 3 dates. The day Kevin went to see her, her classmate offered her a lift to the copy room. She realized Kevin might misunderstand, so she ran after him, but was hit by a car. When she woke up, she lost her memory and traveled to 8 years later. That's how 25-year-old Jane met 33-year-old Kevin and 8-year-old Henry. Although it's all so strange to her, she fell in love with Kevin again, and they had such a good time together. Later, Jane discovered everything from the diary. She traveled back to 8 years ago. She woke up after 6 weeks of being in a coma after the accident. She was frightened at the thought that she would be dead at 32. She wondered if she could avoid the inevitable if she married another man. Soon, she realized maybe she woke up all because Kevin and Henry were waiting for her. So regardless of dying at 32, she decided to accept her destiny. She loved Kevin and Henry so much and also knew how wonderful it was to be loved. Soon, on her way to meet Kevin, she wrote down, "Please wait for me. I will be with you." She threw herself in Kevin's arms the moment she met him. They hugged and kissed each other in front of the rose wall on the platform. On the last page, Jane wrote, "I have loved my whole life." Kevin reads the diary again and again as he grows older. Jeff sends Henry birthday cake and a card every year. The card is written by Jane. That's what she asked Jeff to do. Henry numbered and organized those cards, just like a mom's love. Henry becomes a handsome young man and goes out for a date for the first time. Kevin walks around the house. He looks into the sky and smiles peacefully. Okay, that's all for today's movie. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe with the bell. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.